Hello, everybody, and welcome to All Things Considered Franchising Podcast. I am your host, Scotty Milas, and I've been around the franchising space, seems like a lifetime, so welcome to the show. Just a little FYI, I help people explore franchise ownership and see if it's the right path for them, and more importantly, provide an educational journey to see how a brand that can fit your goals and lifestyle. I also educate my clients on how to validate and make a logical business decision as well as an informed decision. On this show, you'll hear directly from franchise owners as well as franchisors leading exciting brands and people within and in the industry of franchising. You can always connect with me at scotty@theperfectfranchise.com. That is my email address. Visit the websites at theperfectfranchise.com or scottmilasfranchisecoach.com. You can also text and call me at 413-935-5111. Now let's get into today's exciting episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of All Things Considered Franchising. I am your host, Scotty Milas, the founder of allthingsconsideredfranchising.com, also the founder of scottmilasfranchisecoach.com, which is an organization that devotes its time, effort, and energy to providing an education, research, consultative approach, helping people take a look closely at business ownership through franchising. Of course, I'm also part of the Perfect Franchise. They are the educational wing, the referral network that I belong to, Mark Schruman, and we are 35 to 40 of the top consultants in the country. So kind of very unique in the industry. So today's guest is very interesting because, as most of you know, if you know my background, I have a lot of background in food in the franchising industry. And today's guest is Charles Townsend IV, also known as Chad. He is, along with his wife, Lauren, is the founder of Millie's Ice Cream, which is a chef-driven brand founded in 2014 out of Pittsburgh, PA. So all of you folks who are potentially either Eagles or Steelers fans, I'm not going to get into that conversation. They focus on handcraft, grass-grazed ice cream. We're going to have to ask him about that. The company operates a model of centralized production, which is kind of interesting because you're shipping out to your franchisees, to the franchisees shipping, making the ice cream and then shipping it out. Revenue streams franchise can generate through physical brick-and-mortar shops, ice cream trucks, catering events, and of course retail pint sales. Features chef-driven recipes, dairy-free gelatos, and scratch-made waffle cones. God, I'm getting hungry just talking about it. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Scotty. Super excited to be on. I've been listening for a little while here now, so thrilled that you're having us on.
Doing some research and going back, and I'm familiar with the brand because obviously, as I said, you're in our. I didn't mention that you are a part of the TPF portfolio, one of the half a dozen food brands that we have in our portfolio. But your background is very unique because you came, much like me, you started in the industry, food industry, very young, but went to culinary school and then worked for actually some Michelin-star restaurants.
Yep.
And when you think about that, and then you got into handcrafted, recipe-driven ice cream, help the audience connect the dots because it's unique and it's very interesting. Tell us the story.
Yeah, always been a food guy. Had a mom and dad who just were very interested in home cooking. So I kind of grew up. I don't have the traditional making ravioli on my grandma's knee type thing, but just had parents who were interested in cooking dinner, pretty much every night, which in the age range I'm at started to become less and less common. So I always enjoyed it and realized throughout my high schooling, that I probably was not a candidate for higher education. So I went to culinary school and started working. I'd worked in some restaurants, dishwashing, that whole thing, and really decided that I liked it. I loved doing it. I loved the kind of working with your hands. There was, an incredible camaraderie with a team. And so I just kind of continued to go on and on through the ranks once I graduated culinary school.
Interesting.
I had gotten very serious with my wife, not to marriage point, but we had known that I was going to be married. She has a background in finance, had a really great job. I had always kind of fancied myself a Francophile, knowing that we were going to get married, and that was going to be kind of the end of the opportunity to take a jaunt across the world. I decided that I was going to write letters to 10 of, call them my most idolized French chefs,
Right.
and said, hey, I'll come over and work for you for free. Just love
Interesting.
the opportunity to be in your kitchen. I got responses from almost all of them. 4 of them said, sure, you can do it. Here's what it looks like. And I ultimately settled on the one that I landed at, with the intent of being there for 2 weeks, right? Just kind of like a working vacation, see what it's like. If I just sweep the floor every day, it is what it is, but I get to see what it's like in a 3 Michelin-star restaurant. It worked out well that I was able to pick it up relatively quickly, and stay for a full season. They offered me another kind of contract, as it is in most of Europe. It's 1 or 2 year contracts.
Right.
And my wife didn't want to move over there at the time. I don't blame her. She had a good job, and I was making 35 euro a day. But there was a romance to it. It's funny, as we talk about it today, she says, we should have done that. But we can't. The path that we took is what led us here to this moment.
Wow. So flash forward, great experience in the kitchen. I'm sure you learned the operational side.
Yep.
I think there's an old saying in food, it's not hard work, it's long work. A lot of moving parts, labor, product inventory, but you learn the front end, the back end.
Yep.
And let's flash forward. You probably end up coming back to the States, get married. Now ice cream.
Yeah.
Millie's promotes itself as a family-run business, and I think that's unique, and I think that's very important in the structure of the franchise as well. So, how did that transition go from, and how did Millie's come to be? I mean, why ice cream? And then go into and maybe talk to us about this handcrafted recipe, grass-rooted, uh, dairy-free Dorados, just kind of the product in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, honestly, the whole core crux of the business was me thinking I was working a scam over on my wife. I had left the restaurant that I was operating here, great restaurant, but I had no ownership stake in it. And I wasn't going to get one. I ran it as the chef. So all decision making, everything ran through me, but I was, just going to forever be a W-2 employee. Some days I wish I was a W-2 employee, but you know how it goes.
Right,
Most days I'm happy I'm not, but some days it would be nice. Anyways, so I left that restaurant on good terms. That was what we wanted to do. At that point, we had no children. My wife still had a great career in finance. She said, we can't find this restaurant that we are going to do while you're working 100 hours a week. You're either pulling your attention from that to look for our thing,
right,
or pulling your attention from our thing to look for this. So why don't you leave while everybody's still good. I found and trained my replacement. It was great. And did some like odd jobs for buddies as we were kind of looking at real estate. There is an ice cream machine called a Paco Jet.
Never heard of it.
It is in a lot of high-end kitchens. It's mostly used for ice cream, but you can use it for some other things. So I said to my wife, like, hey, I'd like to maybe buy a Paco Jet, figure out these recipes in advance, not for Millie's, for this restaurant, this to be determined restaurant. She didn't fall for it, right? It was just me. I was bored. I was going to play around and make ice cream at our house. But it was, close to 10 grand. And so she said, fine, we'll get it, but you got to pay it off this summer. So we started making ice cream in our house, selling it kind of quasi out of the back door of a friend's restaurant. We had lines around the block.
Interesting. Very
almost
interesting.
immediately. And then, small restaurants and small grocery stores were coming up to me saying like, hey, can you make this? Could you put this in pints? We'd love to. And I said, I can't, obviously, making this illegally. But we thought we might have something there. So we built a small dairy plant, about 900 square feet, and started pasteurizing. And that's been kind of our launch into the ice cream world.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. We're talking to Chad Townsend. He's co-founder along with his wife, Lauren, Millie's Ice Cream, chef-driven brand out of Pittsburgh, PA. Operating now as a franchise. I currently have almost 20 stores opened, fast approaching, in development, close to 30 stores. So you're slowly coming out of that embryonic stage, as we call in franchising, that,
Yep.
Kind of tweaking the operations, tweaking the marketing, relying on your franchisees for feedback,
Yep.
kind of really spending a lot of time. I guess the first question I have for you in regards to franchising, why franchising? Obviously, this could have been a corporate driven opportunity, multiple. You didn't have to go outside of probably Pennsylvania if you really didn't want to. But what was the attraction to franchising your business? Because obviously, if I'm guessing correctly, you opened a couple of corporate locations and then said, hey, how do we grow? And you looked at franchising. So walk us through the thinking to franchise the business.
Yeah. It really came about post-COVID for us.
Okay.
As I think it did for a lot of emerging franchisors. We realized there was kind of a glut of second-gen real estate on the market. Small cafes. We fit into a small footprint, right? We have several locations that are sub 1,000 square feet.
Interesting. Okay. So a small footprint, smaller build out.
Yep. And so we realized that is a niche real estate space that is very hard to fill. So if you have something that went out of business, not due to traffic concerns or whatever, but maybe somebody couldn't really make the math work through COVID, as some folks couldn't, and we almost didn't. We realized that there was a great opportunity here. At the same time, it occurred to us that ice cream is a community builder. It just is, right? It's one of those businesses that I could very easily, follow a Chick-fil-A model, a Chipotle, a Starbucks, something like that. I could find, we have some open and operating locations in Florida. I could find somebody in the Georgia area who is a very qualified director of operations. They go to the store, they do a cleanliness audit, they, weigh some portions, they look at the P&Ls. Okay, great, you're doing good. Thanks. See you in a month, whatever that may be. But me just hiring people and placing them, inserting them into a market doesn't get the community feel that we are trying to build.
Okay. So it's a community driven brand. That's what you're trying to attract. I mean, I guess in essence, it's easy to say, Matt, Chad, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there are very few people that walk into an ice cream store in a bad mood. I mean, right? I mean,
it is far different. It is
they're trying to get out of their bad mood, and they're not looking for a glass of beer, a pint of beer to calm their nerves. They're happy. I mean, and that's community driven.
Yep, and we always joked about the most recent restaurant, or my last restaurant I worked at, had an open kitchen with a glass wall that faced the front door, and we always joked that when a couple would come in, there was always one smiling ear to ear, and always one like looking around. You could tell they were saying, "What's this going to cost me?"
Right. Exactly.
We don't have that in ice cream. It's families, it's people who are celebrating. To your point, it might be somebody who's coming in because they had a lousy day and they just want a milkshake.
Right. They want to get happy. Yep.
Exactly. And so those folks get to know the franchisees.
Okay.
And the franchisees get to know them.
So we've taken the franchise route now. Let's flash forward. We're now into that franchise state. I'm sure, like any type of franchise that I've been associated with, there's sticking to the plan, the operational side, the marketing side. So let's talk about overall investment level. Just give me a brief. Item 7. What's your range?
Yep. 200 to 500.
Okay. And the 500, I gather, is based on a larger footprint.
Larger build out, ground up, adding a truck.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Multiple,
and that's adding a truck.
area development.
If we were just looking at that 1,500 square foot brick and mortar, are we talking somewhere between that 300, 400,000 range?
Yeah, we're,
maybe give or take.
Probably, somebody, my wife is gonna kill me here, but as we're just about to refile our FDD, but we are seeing construction costs for most of our spaces at this point hit in that 1,200 square foot range. Yep. We're seeing construction costs in the like 150 to 200K range.
Right. Well, that's a great spot to be in. That small 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. That's when you look at the smart brands, the food brands that captured that, they've done very well in it. Nobody likes to walk into a 3,000 square foot restaurant and not see anybody in there, especially in non-prime hours. So, I mean, it's so we
more
franchise
real estate
now.
Does not beget more guests.
Right. So let's talk about the type of franchisee we're looking for. One of the big things today in franchising is this term called semi-absentee, driven by management. So tell me a little bit about the franchisee that you're looking for. Are we looking for those empire builders? Are we looking for somebody to scale? Are you looking for somebody just to have one unit and, just kind of settle with that? And then, of course, talk about, the expectations and what you're looking for as far as management. Is it owner operator looking for somebody who can do this on a semi-absentee, hire a manager? Walk us through that platform for us.
Yeah. One of the things that we have talked about incessantly internally is like this franchisee avatar, right? What do we want these folks to look at or look like rather? And Millie's requires a decent amount of time in your schedule for the first 6 months, right?
20 to 25 hours a week.
It might even be a little bit more than that. It might be 30. But we have a lot of franchisees who currently work 0 to 10.
Okay.
It is
and
not.
And just to interrupt you, because this is community driven, I would think that you want a franchisee, to open a store within their community. You're not looking for somebody to drive an hour to a location, maybe as they scale in multiple locations, but initially you probably want somebody who's going to focus in on their community, since it is a community-driven lifestyle.
Yes, and I think most folks who are looking at Millie's, it is not going to be. We would happily talk to a gentleman or a woman who is interested in buying 50 of them and being fully passive. But that is, I don't think that makes sense for them, for us. Again, we will have a conversation with most folks before we determine if they're a right fit for the brand. But you can do many ice cream shops, even in a smaller community. You can do 2 or 3 ice cream shops and 2 ice cream trucks in a community that is still a 20-minute, kind of drive from every point. And so we are looking for folks who, oftentimes they're, as you say, call it 10 hours on the high end. There's minimal administrative tasks, right? As it's an ice cream shop, the schedule is pretty easy to put together. More often than not, these folks are assembling events, booking their trucks, following up with people, billing, those kind of things, post events, post weddings. We do a ton of weddings, ton of corporate events with the trucks. So
S-
that's what it
So you're
typically
looking
is.
for somebody who has a lot of delegation, understanding, can manage. You're
Yep.
not looking for somebody to be in your store X amount of hours a day, but you want somebody who's going to provide oversight, and so forth, manage the manager, so to speak. So a lot of the semi-absentee qualifications that as a
Yep.
coach that I remind people. It's interesting you mentioned that the commented about the person who wants to buy 50. And sometimes when you sit down with that person about 50 and say, well, if you do one a year, that's 50 years.
Yeah.
Why would I want to, look at my growth in 50 years? So, I mean, are you going to do 5 a year? Are you going to do 7 a year? It changes the perspective when you start talking to somebody. So smart growth, it sounds like you're on a smart growth program. Um, in regards to the brand itself and the direction you want to go in, you're focused you're focus driven on the brick and mortar, the truck, the kiosk. When you
Yep.
break out the revenue streams, and I think I mentioned this before, it's brick and mortar, then the food truck to do office parties, birthday parties, whatever it is. Then it may be the kiosk. What percentage of your franchisees, and I know you're still growing, you're in that early adapting stage or slowly coming out of it, um, and the time frame from going to the brick and mortar to the truck? What are your expectations? What do you like to see?
Yeah. So we are, as we kind of refile and figure out, the new year here, upcoming, um, we are probably going to mandate people to have a truck.
Okay.
The truck it is a giant mobile billboard, and it
Mm-hmm.
allows for challenges. Time to open is a big thing for us. We want to get it right. We want to get site selection right, but we realize like we could hem and haw, and I could come up with 5 reasons why every space in the middle of Times Square is a bad location.
Right.
And so we want to get it right, but we don't want people to just be nitpicking everything to death. The nice thing about the truck is most often, sign a franchise agreement, you could probably have a truck on the road in sub 60 days.
And you can work through the distribution
Our
as far
distribution,
as
yep,
getting ice cream to that truck.
absolutely.
That's
Our
interesting. Well,
distribution,
look, that's very smart. You're allowing somebody who's making a major investment to while they're looking for real estate to bring in revenue. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's a smart.
we don't want them to get to a point where they're like, okay, I've put this franchise fee, I've deployed this capital, and I'm just, and I'm looking to like get something going. And we don't want them to be making bad decisions on real estate just
Just
because.
because, yeah. And that's that in on the coaching consulting side. And again, Chad, it's very interesting because you know being experienced in the food industry and also understanding franchising, and most of the people over at TPF do as well. A lot of times, coaches and consultants don't say that to their clients. That you got to look at another 12 to 18 months from the time you sign your franchise agreements before you're even going to open your door. Now, could it be sooner? Could you find something? And most of it's finding real estate. Maybe you could find something sooner. Um, what's the fun part about your business, Chad? I mean, when I think of Millie's, and to me, it's just a fun brand. So, what's the fun part? And the second part to that is one of the questions I always get when we talk about ice cream, yogurt, or whatever is the seasonality of it. What do I do in the middle of winter, i.e., just what went on in the Northeast, the blizzard, 20 feet of snow, whatever it is? How do we
Absolutely.
work ourselves around that and the mindset?
Yep. The fun part is the fact that you get to make moments for people, right? When we started Millie's, we made this business. We have this. It's Business School 101, right? We've got this mission statement, and everybody has the same kind of mission statement. We're going to be good to the community, pay people, use local, blah 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 blah, right? That was filed away in a drawer on day 3, and nobody had ever looked at it. But we
Mm-hmm.
realized like the greatest companies, the best companies have these kind of statements of purpose, right? Lego has a fabulous one. And people, and it's one sentence and it's a distillation of that whole thing. So we focused really hard a few years ago to come up with ours, and that is crafting every scoop in every moment to make your day.
Wow. That is
And
awesome.
so it's important that, we've all been to restaurants. I've worked in them. I have worked in the most pretentious places on earth, right? And there's a reason why Waffle House is so busy, right? It is good food. It's fine food, right? But you go there, it's typically a fun atmosphere. It's,
Yep.
if you're regular, you get something, right? And so we all have a bar where you go in and the beer is there as you're walking in the door. And so we want to create that guest experience. And that is really, truly a very fun part of this whole thing. You're making somebody's day, you're making a moment for folks who are coming in the door.
Interesting. Interesting. That's great. Well, Chad, I'm sure we could spend the next hour and a half, 2 hours talking about ice cream. Who doesn't like to talk about ice cream and gelato? The fact that you have gelato on the menu as well, uh,
Yep.
that's intriguing. But it's been great to have. Any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to share with the audience about Millie's? And I'll mention it. I mean, obviously they can go to your website if they want some more
Yep.
information. They can reach out to me. I'll get into that in a second. But
Yep.
anything else you want to share about Millie's and the opportunity that you're presenting?
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of folks that are having a really great time doing it and also making money while doing it. The core, one of the core ideas that my wife and I have is there are there there are a lot of there's a lot of room for ice cream everywhere, and we want to get people. We don't want to be the next hoagie shop that is competing with people across the street. We want people to be very successful.
Great, great. And just going back to that one other question I asked you, that seasonality thing. I imagine having the food truck allows you to continue to do birthday parties, corporate events.
We do a lot of
is there
corporate
anything
events.
else? Is there anything else that people should, in the back of their mind, saying, "Well, what am I doing in the wintertime with an ice cream shop?" I mean, what other thoughts do you have on that you could share?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would be lying if I said there wasn't a significant drop off in the winter. We have a model that allows a small enough fixed cost burden that you still break even in January with 10 inches of snow on the ground.
Okay.
And then
All
people
right,
come
great.
shooting out of the doors in mid-February when it hits 50.
Right. That's right. That's what it's great. Well, we've been talking to Chad Townsend along with his wife, Lauren. They are co-founders of Millie's Ice Cream, which is a chef-driven ice cream brand, handcrafted ice cream. Sounds like a great menu. Founded in 2014, as I mentioned, out of Pittsburgh, PA. Currently, almost 20 stores open, getting ready to open a couple of new ones. And of course, they have close to 30 in development, which is a great achievement in the short time that you've been franchising. So if anybody is interested in learning more about Millie's Ice Cream, you can reach out to me at Scotty@theperfectfranchise.com or reach out to Chad directly. Go to their website. Chad, it's been great talking to you, and I hope we can get you back on the show 6 months, 12 months from now and kind of give us an update where you are. But I am looking
That would be
forward
great.
to ordering some ice cream and having shipped to me. Hint, hint, hint. to our listening audience. But anyway, this has been another episode of All Things Considered Franchising. I am your host, Scotty Milas, the founder. Check out all the episodes on your favorite podcast channel or go to allthingsconsideredfranchising.com. You can also contact me at Scotty@theperfectfranchise.com. Go to my personal website, scottmilasfranchisecoach.com, or theperfectfranchise.com. If you need any assistance, guidance, and education researching business ownership, that's where my strengths and attributes come in as far as helping clients go down that path. So until next time, go out, and if you're near a Millie's, I certainly will tell you to go try it because from what I hear, it's just outstanding, and I'm looking forward to ordering some. But Chad, best to you and Lauren, and I look forward to connecting again.
Thanks so much, Scotty.